Hi everyone, welcome to episode 94 of the Arieknits podcast. My name is Ariel and this is a video podcast where I talk about all the things that I have been knitting and spinning on for the past week. And in today's episode, it's actually the past 2 weeks because last weekend I didn't have a regular podcast episode because I was out with my friends, my knit friends. So all of us last weekend, we all live in the Seattle area in Washington State, just in case you didn't know, and we all did a knit weekend away. We went to Whidbey Island, which is actually pretty close to here, so I've never been before, and so I was really excited about it, and I'll talk more about this knit weekend away with you all towards the end part of the video, just in case you are just here for the knits, which is totally fine. So that is why I didn't have a regular episode last weekend, but I did finally post my Spin With Me episode 3 last weekend. I really kind of, not rushed it, like I wanted it to be good, but I was like down to the last second editing that video and doing the voiceover right before Megan came and picked me up for us to go on our knit weekend away. So I'm really glad that I finally got that out to you all because it's been some time since I actually did that spin and filmed it, and I just needed to do like the very end and do the editing and voiceover. So I'm glad that that is now out in the world, and I hope if you watched it, I hope you enjoyed it, and if you're interested, it is just a video like so I have I guess only 3 episodes right now of like the Spin With Me series of videos, but the idea behind them is that you'll see me spin one of my fibers, like fiber projects, from very start of the project till the end, final product of the spin. And the idea kind of came about because, you know, I feel like technique-wise, or like when I look up spinning videos, I'm sure that there are ones exactly like this, but the ones that I have seen before were like, you know, around specific techniques, but sometimes I wondered, like, sometimes it would cut out in between sections, and I'm like, no, I want to see it all, the entire process. Like, it doesn't have to be real time, like, you know, however many hours it takes you to do the spin, but for any of, like, the transition pieces, or, like, you know, in between, like, how did you get from this step to this step? You know, sometimes, like, winding it off of your bobbin, like, how do you do that? How does one do that? And, you know, for the most part, what I am doing is pretty similar in between my spins. I'm not really doing any crazy different techniques all the time, but I just thought it'd be kind of fun to do a video just showing you my process for some of the spins. I don't plan on doing a video for all of my spins, of course, but for the ones that are interesting, either interesting fiber colors or a bigger project in mind or different spinning technique, that's kind of the idea behind that. Okay, so let's get started on what I'm wearing today, because I think I have a lot of things to show you all, because it has been, again, 2 weeks, and, you know, one of the weekends was spent knitting basically the whole time, and so I do have, I think, some good progress updates to show you all. Okay, what I'm wearing today. This is the Haw Creek Pullover by Andrea Gaughan, and it was a finished object from a previous episode, but I don't think I blocked it yet. Actually, this is true because I just blocked this like 2 days ago in preparation for today's episode. Finally blocked it, and I'm so happy with how it came out. I knew it was going to block out nicely, but sometimes you never know, right? Like, you anticipate it looking a certain way, but you never know until it's done. So I'm really glad with how it blocked out. Details first before I stand up and show it to you and talk more about it. The yarn I used for this is the Woolberry Fabrico Berry Merino in the colorway Orange Blossom. And this was it was a Woolberry Rewind colorway from last year. So this is another finished project done for my goal of using all of my Woolberry Rewind yarn from last year. So I'm very happy about that. I knit size A, which is the smallest size, and I use US 5 needles or 3.75 millimeter needles to knit this. And final measurements, I did block this out. I don't want to say aggressively, like I wasn't pulling it really hard to block, but I did definitely want it to block out circumference-wise wider than I was fearing it might end up. So final measurements, I got 38 inches in circumference on this, and that gives me about 8 inches of positive ease. And surprisingly, this actually worked out perfectly for the size. It's very close. I think maybe just like 0.5 or 0.75 inches less than what the pattern states for this size. And so I am very happy with this. I was worried as I was knitting this up that it was going to be too small. Part of the reason is because I used a fingering weight yarn for this. The pattern calls for a sport weight yarn. And for me, usually sport weight, because it's between fingering and DK, sometimes you can just switch it out for fingering or DK and be fine. But depending on the gauge, if using the sport weight it is really light and airy, then you should probably go with a DK, kind of like fill in those gaps, because if you go with a fingering, it might be even more kind of holey than you might want. So I do think that this, I was worried because I went fingering and I was like, ooh, I think that to get gauge, it is going to be a bit thin of a fabric. Like, it'll be nice and drapey, but it might be kind of holey. I wasn't totally sure. I did have to knit a bit more rows than I think, if I use a DK weight yarn or a sport weight yarn even. But everything blocked out pretty much to size. I feel like the sleeves are a great fit. There are decreases in the sleeve, and so they are pretty fitted, but they're not as tight as it was before blocking. And so I am like, this is very comfortable. I'm very comfortable with how this is fitting around my arm. The length is also great. I was worried about adding too much length, because then if it blocked out way too much, it might be too long. But the length I added was perfect. I think I might have added this much more or something than the pattern. The pattern says to knit until, whatever length after the decreases, but I think I finished my decreases around here is what it looks like. And I think the pattern said, knit maybe like this much more rows, and then if you need more, knit more rows. And so I did have to knit a little bit more, but that wasn't too much of kind of a modification. It was just a length thing, but I love the length on these sleeves. And the rest of this, I'm wearing a tank top under this because the V, depending sometimes how I'm moving, might kind of like go a little too deep for me. It's really not too bad, but I'm just wearing a tank top just in case for the podcast. But look at this. Okay, I'm going to stand up now so you can see. Body length on this, I did make this longer than the pattern states, because in the pattern it is cropped, and I didn't want it to be cropped. I wanted to be very comfortable wearing just this and not have to worry about having to wear high-waisted pants to cover, any middle part that I don't want to show. So I would say, my belly button's right here, so it's well past that, and it's a comfortable, very, just a very comfortable length for me, and you can see it's very drapey, and I really like that. So it has some movement. The shaping, I just moved my chair. I maybe didn't talk about the stitch on this. So the reason why I was saying like it blocked out so nicely and all of that is because the stitch on this is like a broken rib. And any kind of ribbing usually looks really small before you block it. And so you can see like now all of those lines are really kind of like laying nice and flat. It's not really pulling in. And for a top like this, I really wanted everything to just be flat. I didn't want any kind of cinching in. So I think that is laying really nicely in the pattern. I think the yarn colorway looks really nice in this stitch pattern because there's just some speckles kind of going all around, and it's not too busy with the stitch pattern, and I think it is just great. There's I-cord finishing on the wrist, the neck line, and also the hem. And I just think the shaping here, or the, how this looks for the v-neck is really nice. It's just overall super nice. I think the one thing, like this is the first day that I am wearing it, the one thing that might be kind of interesting for me to see how I feel the longer I wear it is that I think that the neck is kind of wide in terms of like, I think I like the shoulder part to sit a little closer to my neck usually, but as I'm kind of like moving around like this, you can see that it's getting a bit wider at the neck, and you know, the straps on my tank top and stuff are kind of hitting like kind of around here, and my shoulders right here, so it kind of almost feels like it might fall off my shoulders, and that's a little uncomfortable for me, but like it's not that big of a problem. It's just the look or just the way that it lays on me. So that's just one thing for me. Well, just one thing that I've noticed that I want to share with you all. So yeah, but I guess the wider it goes, you can see like the V-neck, you can't even see my tank top anymore. But if I brought it closer in, then it goes deeper down in the V. So, that's just how it works. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that. It was one thing that I noticed. But overall, so happy with how this came out because I was nervous about it. But it is nice and drapey. And because it's fingering weight, it might get a little cold in this. Like I might have to wear like a cardigan over it. But also because it is fingering weight and a little thin, you can probably wear a cardigan or a bigger jacket over it to feel extra comfy. So that's also super nice because sometimes it might get a little hot and you want to wear just like a lighter long sleeve maybe, during the winter. So it's nice for me to have this option. And yeah, that is, I think, all I have to say about this. I will be wearing this for probably the rest of today to see how it goes, but overall, I really like it. Oh, and also the armhole. This was another thing that I was worried about being a little too small because I feel like this year, maybe even last year, or just like this year, I've been really kind of focused on like how big is the armhole on a lot of my knit garments, and it really, if it's too big, it's like I can't stand it, and then if it's too small, it really just feels like it's just like too tight, right? And I guess that most people don't want it too small or too big anyway, so that seems like a normal thing to want. But when I was knitting this, I kind of felt a little nervous about the armhole being too small, but as you can see, there is no pinching or any kind of like, I don't feel it hugging really my upper arm here, and so that's nice. I'm very happy about it. I'm just overall so happy that this blocked out the way that I thought it was going to. So overall, great finished object. Very happy with it. Okay, enough about what I'm wearing today. Let's move on to my finished objects for the past 2 weeks. Okay, some of them I've already kind of shown, but I think the only thing that needed to get done for some of these or a couple of these is I needed to block them. So you'll see them again. This is not the last time you'll see these finished objects because I'm still trying to like catch up on wearing my finished objects in my videos because that is what I like to do. But first up is my Framed by Andrea Mowry. Here it is. It is so cute. It blocked out so nicely, like the perfect amount. It made the colorwork, any part of the colorwork that looked a little bit bunchy, like kind of like my tension was kind of weird for my floats, blocked out super nice, so everything is laying pretty flat and smooth. The yarn color, they just look so nice. Everything just looks so clean and polished after blocking. I love blocking my knitwear. It just makes everything look so much better. If you haven't seen me talk about this before, details on this. This is the Framed by Andrea Mowry. The yarn I use for this is Yarn Jam Natural DK in the colorway Cedar. So that is my main color. I only have one main color here all throughout. It is this dark brown color I used for like that, framed section and also within the colorwork section. And then the other yarn I used in the colorwork section here is my Handspun, also from Yarn Jam. So this is Yarn Jam's Natural Shaniko fiber that I spun in the colorway Arieknits. That is the colorway, the fiber colorway that was inspired by me, which is really cool. It was part of the podcaster collection from Yarn Jam. And wow, I can't believe that it has all gone from like, you know, start to finish of like picking out those colors, doing that collaboration, and spinning the fiber, and then now it is in a knitted finished object. It is crazy. I love how this color turned out. I'm just so happy with it. And okay, also I forgot to mention the Natural DK yarn from Yarn Jam is also Shaniko wool. And so this whole sweater is Shaniko fiber, or like the fiber content of the yarn is all Shaniko. And this is my first fully Shaniko like sweater. I knit size 2, and I use US 5 needles, which is 3.75 millimeter needles, and US 7 needles, 4.5 millimeter needles to knit this. So the smaller needle size is for the ribbing, and the bigger size is for the rest of the body. Okay. After washing and blocking this, I feel like the yarn plumped up so nicely, and not like too much, not like super noticeable, but it did just like, you know, it just kind of like filled everything out. This sweater, this entire sweater, all of the yarn in this feels so incredible. It is so soft. It is so plump. It is just amazing. I have worn this a few times already since I finished it, and it is so comfortable. Okay, I will be wearing this in a future podcast episode and then talk more about the fit, and then you can also see it on me. But really quickly, just to talk about it, it is a cropped sweater. It is worked bottom up, and I didn't change anything about the body length. I did it to pattern, so it is cropped. But the one thing I did change was sleeve length. I actually added one more, or like half of the pattern repeat. I added this much to the sleeves, because otherwise it's supposed to be a shorter sleeve, like maybe a 3/4 sleeve or something. But on me, it just kind of looked, I wanted it just a tad longer. So this is still a shorter sleeve on me. Like, it doesn't go all the way to my wrist, but I'm really glad that I did add the length that I did. Otherwise, I feel like it would feel too short. So it still, you know, provides me good coverage and warmth throughout. Another thing is I did use DK weight yarn for this. The pattern calls for worsted weight, but I feel like for me, the DK weight worked well. I don't know if maybe, you know, the Shaniko, because it does have such a nice floof and like plumpness to it, that it kind of like filled it in a little bit, but I think it's definitely doable with a DK weight, as long as it's not, I mean, I don't know, maybe a light DK would work too, but you should probably gauge swatch. But yeah, I did use DK weight yarn. Wow, I seriously love this sweater. It was worth the effort. I really kind of stalled on this a little bit after starting the sleeve, like the first sleeve. I really don't like working color work in small circumference. It just, to me, feels too finicky, and too, especially, I mean, 2 colors. Like, to me, it's the yarn management that really kind of bugs me sometimes. And so I really just like stopped working on it for a while. And then I was like, for our knit weekend away last weekend, I really wanted to get finished object pictures in this sweater. So I was like, I gotta finish it before then, with enough time to wash and block it. And so I just powered through, and then it wasn't too bad. It really wasn't too bad, you know, because there are chart repeats. I kind of just like tried to work through it, you know, like kind of like stripes in a way, you know, like, oh, just one more, oh, just one more. So that really helped me, I feel like. But wow, now that it's done, I love it. I'm so happy with it. And yeah, you'll see more of it again when I wear it, but here it is. It's so cute. It's so cute. And it's so, gosh, it's so soft. I really need another Shaniko sweater in my life. Okay, and then the other finished object that I think I just needed to wash and block, and so you've already kind of seen this, is my Traveler shawl. This is also by Andrea Mowry. I've been really into knitting Andrea Mowry patterns lately, or just this whole year. Look at all of the colors. Okay, this is another handspun project by me. So, and this one's all handspun. So the yarn or the fiber I used for this was fiber from Little Fiber Co. I had 3 braids all in different colorways from the In the Clouds collection, and I did a combo spin. So I spun singles for each of the braids, and then I plied them together. So this is a 3-ply, and it came out to be this really amazing and super surprising result of this, because 2 of the braids were a brownish color and the other one was like pink and purple, and so it was a crazy plying experience and final result. I love just like the stripes you can see in this, like the colors, like it's so cute. And then I did run out of my main color here towards the end when I got to this tip, and I asked you all for some help, and thank you all again for all of your suggestions for this. And what I went with was, because I had leftover of 2 of the colorways that I ended up doing a chain ply with, and so I finished the shawl with just this the brown tonal colorway, and then the really colorful pink and purple. And I think it's really cute that this small triangle ended up containing all colors that were in that fiber braid, and so you have like that peachy pink, the more kind of like darker pink, and then the little purple at the end. And so I'm really happy with how that all worked out too. And yeah, it's a great shawl, nice and warm, and I haven't had a chance to wear it outside yet, but I did take pictures of it during knit weekend, and that was really fun as well. It is, yeah, look at this. Ooh, nice and cozy. Maybe I'll just wear this like this for the rest of the podcast. Okay, I made size 2 of this pattern, and the only difference in size 2 is actually when you work the second triangle. You just work the decreases less, or at a longer, there's more rows before you work decreases, and so there's more knitting to do for the second triangle, and so size 2 is a larger shawl, but also it's kind of like, I think size 2 is like a DK weight yarn, and then size 1 is like sport weight or something like that. I used US 7 needles, 4.5 millimeter needles to knit this. And yeah, I'm really happy with this. Oh, the fiber content of this, all 3 braids were Rambouillet, and this is my first like fully Rambouillet shawl, and it's really nice. I feel like, okay, because Shaniko is fiber from a sheep that is Rambouillet and Merino, and then this is just Rambouillet, I was kind of wondering if I'd be able to tell, like, what does it feel like a knitted finished object difference between Rambouillet and Shaniko. And I think that Rambouillet is just, it still has that squish, airy factor to the yarn and the finished object, but Rambouillet is still soft. So when I say this, that I think Shaniko is just softer, I think it's just like somehow like smoother and softer. Rambouillet is still soft. It's still like next to skin soft. I want to wear the shawl around my neck and it's fine. So I'm not saying it's not soft, but I think Shaniko is just softer. Yeah, that is what I'll go with. I'm not really great with, I don't know how to describe how I feel the fiber, but yeah, okay. Wow, this is so cute. This is so cute and so cozy. Okay, so this is my finished Traveler shawl. It was, okay, when I bought the fiber for this, I already knew I was going to make this shawl. And so now that it's done, it just feels really nice to have that whole process all kind of like done with. And I'm really happy with the finished objects. And yeah, though, okay, one thing I will say is blocking this was a bit weird because it's so big. Like, I never know how to really block shawls because I don't really have the floor space for it, at least right now. So I kind of just end up folding it in half a little bit in some kind of way and then just laying it where I do have room to, where I usually wash and block my things. So I don't think my shawls are ever really like dried to a size measurement. I just like need it to dry. And as long as it's washed and dried, it's like pretty okay. But yeah, I'm very happy with it. I'm so happy. Okay, so that is my second finished object in the past 2 weeks, and then I have one more. Oh yes, okay. Oh my gosh, I finished knitting this morning. I didn't think I was gonna get this done, but I pushed through because I wanted to knit on other things, but I was like, no, you're so close. Just finish it. Okay. I am done. This is the final Stella quilt cushion. I think this is number 5 total. I can't believe it. The day is finally here. This one, you'll be like, yes, I know. You've seen the front 5 times, but this is the back because I don't think you've seen the back. Is this correct? Because it took me, this was the end of week 2, and it usually takes me, or my goal is to finish the entire back in 2 weeks. And so I think it's the first time you're seeing this. This one is, as you can see, a pink color on the back. If you haven't seen my other Stella quilt cushions, I've made them all different colors for the back, all the same in the front though, because these are going to be Christmas presents for my cousins. And yeah, this was the last one. I hand dyed myself the colors for the back of these pillows because I thought that would be fun, and I didn't have my, the colors that I wanted to use for my cousins, like their favorite colors. I didn't have them in the quantity I needed in my stash, and so I was like, I have yarn to dye, and it'd be great practice for me to dye yarn. And so that's what I did. And so this is the pink one. The pink came out lighter than I was hoping for, but again, right, good learning experience, and it's still a very cute pink. And so I'm very, very happy with it. I used like 2 full skeins of a DK weight yarn to finish the back. This time, last time, the pillow right before this, when I was working this envelope closure, like this flap, I was knitting, there's a certain number of rows to knit, and I knit to pattern, as I have for all the other ones, but I ran out of yarn towards the end. Luckily for that one, I had 3 skeins of DK yarn in that color, and so I was able to just get a little bit of the third one to finish it off. But for this one, because the way that I have been dyeing my yarn is 2 skeins at a time, and so I didn't want to have to dye 3 skeins for this just to use like this much more yarn of it. So this time I just did 1 less repeat, which is like 2 rows for this. So it's 2 rows shorter, but I wanted to make sure that I didn't run out of yarn. And I think, and I'm looking at my leftover yarn on this, it's like a ball that's like this big, and I probably could have done 2 rows, but I didn't want to risk it. And so I feel safe with that. I don't think 2 rows isn't going to look really that much different. So very happy with that. And I just can't believe it's done now. I will probably show them to you all again once I need to wash and block these. And I think they're going to take a very long time to dry, which is going to be interesting to see because I would like to just block them one at a time, but we'll see how long it takes to do one. But yeah, overall, very happy, and I am just excited that this entire project is now like pretty much done. So really quickly on yarn details on this, just in case you missed it, the previous 4 times that I've made this, so the back of the pillows are all hand-dyed yarn from me. It's either a DK weight yarn or fingering weight held double. And then in the front, For this, main background color, like this white color, it is also a hand dyed by me yarn. These are all fingering weight held double. And then the colorful, colors in the middle are all Woolberry Fiberco Berry Cashmere, which is fingering weight, also holding double. And all of the colorways all 8 of them are from the Anne of Green Gables collection from Woolberry. And I thought that this would be a really fun way to use all of the colors. Or there's not all the colors, but many of the colors, because I had single skeins of all the colors from that collection. And I still have leftover of all of these colors left. And so I'm thinking about making some DK weight socks with them or something. That would be kind of cute. Just for me, not for the gifts. But yeah, I'm feeling really motivated to use a lot of my yarn, especially the ones that have been in my stash for over a year. So it's just been really nice. And as maybe you've been able to tell, I did knit the DK weight size of this. I think there's also instructions in the pattern for a worsted weight version of this. And I used US 4 needles or 3.5 millimeter needles to knit this. I did have to size down my needles to get closer to gauge, which is important for this pillow because you want to make sure that the final dimensions will fit the pillow insert that you want. Of course, if you want a different pillow insert size, you can just adjust accordingly. But yeah, yay. I'm so happy that this is done. I'm really happy and I'm excited. I want to take, once these are all washed and blocked, I want to take finished pictures of them, probably not with the pillows in it, but of like all of the colors in the back all together, and just seeing all of these next to each other I think is going to be really cute. Okay, so that is all for my finished objects. Next, let's talk about my whips. I have some fun ones. Okay, let me start off first though with my Culmination blanket. So this is a pattern by Lindsey Fowler, and she is doing a knit along for this all the way until the end of the year. And this blanket is just, you knit a whole bunch of squares, and then at the end you connect them together, I think, with like a crochet chain. So for the pattern, it requires 30 squares. Of course you can knit less or more, but I am planning on getting at least 30 squares. I want to finish this blanket before the end of the year. But in the past 2 weeks, I have knit six squares. So I am almost there. I think that maybe this makes me like, is this 25? Maybe 26? Or something like that. Maybe 26 squares now. So I'm close to 30. But then I need to decide if I want more than 30. Because for this blanket, I am using only leftover yarn, so I'm not scanning up any new yarn to knit these. I want to use not all my leftover, but I want all of the yarn that I use to be leftover yarn. And it's been a really fun way to kind of like revisit some of the yarn and remember which projects I use them in, and just to feel good knowing that I am using up my yarn because they're all beautiful yarn. And I want to use them in a project. So even after, I use them in the main project they were used for, just to use up the leftovers has been really nice. Okay, let me just show you all the colors. I don't remember the names of all of the yarn I used to combine, but I am basically using a combination of yarn. These are supposed to be kind of like a bulky weight yarn combination. So I am doing something with, and the other thing is, for this blanket, I want all of my squares to have suri in it. So they'll either have one strand of suri or two strands of suri. Although I only have a couple squares with 2 strands of suri, and the rest I just have one because I started getting worried I was going to run out of suri. But here's this square. This is definitely more orange. And I think what's fun about this one, and it's probably hard to see, definitely hard to see, but in person and compared to some of my other orange squares, I had a tonal yellow, like a really light yellow yarn left over that I found, and I was like, that would be interesting to see how that looks marled up with some of the more orange and peachy colors, and I think it looks really cute. And so I'm really happy with how this one came out. And then I have so many pink squares, but I feel like that's not super surprising. Here's another pink one. I think I used like a pink surrey and some like variegated pink purple yarn for this one. Very cute. I have a more purple and gray square. I have a few squares now, I think, that are using a very similar yarn combination that uses this like purple. I had kind of a lot of this purple brown skein or yarn, and so I have a few that I just maybe switched out a couple of the yarns to look a little different, but they all kind of look the same, which is fine. Okay, I have this other pink purple square that I made. Oh, this one is interesting. I got a more dark color. I think that this looks more marly because one of the DK weight yarns I use, I think it's, gosh, I can't remember the name of it, but it is from Woolberry, and I used it for the Anne's Puff Sleeves, I think, pattern. It's an Amy Sher pattern. Like, I don't know if it's maybe Burrow is the colorway. I could be wrong, but it is like that darker orangey brown, like dark brown colorway that you maybe can see throughout here, and then I paired it with a whole bunch of like pink colors plus surrey, and so it's mostly pink, but it has some of those like darker spots kind of going throughout. So that was really interesting. And then this one I really like. Again, this might look very similar to my other pink purple squares, but I used one of the fingering weight strands in this is Autumn Hydrangea from Labie and Amy, which I think is the special colorway for La Mercerie. And it just added that extra, do you see like just those darker bits kind of like over there? And it makes it look a little more marly versus like solid color. And I thought that it looks really cute. Like, I'm really, really happy with that outcome, and I wanted to use more of that yarn in my blanket anyway, so that was a good way to use that. So I was very happy with that. So that was 6 squares done in the past 2 weeks. I am using US 10 needles or 6.0 millimeter needles to knit this, which is 1 needle size down from what the pattern recommends, but again, because it is squares and then you're just connecting them together, you can change up, the combination of yarns you're using, and you can also change your needle size to make it the fabric that you want. And so, I think that I am using my yarn combination is just like a little less thick than the pattern also recommends, so that is why I sized down 1, because I still wanted that like extra squish factor without it being too holy. Like, there are holes in this because it is a, kind of like there are yarn overs in, diagonals, like that's the pattern. So there are holes, but I wanted the rest of the fabric to feel pretty thick and nice and warm. And so, yeah, so that was my decision making for that. Okay, next up, I have my Birch pullover. I worked on this a bit. This was this is like a good project, I feel like, for knit nights, and I also brought it with me on knit weekend to work on because, I was at the part where you're doing the raglan increases. So you did have to kind of pay attention a little bit, but because there's so much knitting to do, I feel like, and you're not increasing every time, and so as long as you kind of check in with yourself a little bit, then you'll be all right. And the rounds, feel like they kind of take a long time, and so, again, like, for a knit night or for, when you're hanging out with friends, I feel like it was a pretty good knit. As you can see, I've split 4 sleeves, and so I have connected under the arms, and I have worked just a little bit under right there, and this is all 1 skein of yarn, and so, again, perfect way for me to show it on the podcast. I stopped working on it once I finished the first skein, and so that it is not attached right now to any ball of yarn, which makes it really nice when I have a lot of projects to talk about and all of them to be sitting really close to each other. So this is how it looks, and I am in love. I love it. So again, this is the Birch Pullover by Andrea Mowry. Oh my gosh, this is like literally almost all Andrea Mowry patterns right now. I have knit this before. This is the second time I'm knitting it because I love my first one and also because my friends are knitting the Birch and I was like, I want to join again. So we're all knitting the Birch. Not all of us, but you know, some of us are knitting the Birch. Okay, I am knitting size 1, which is the same size that I knit last time, and I like it, so I'm doing it again. And then the only difference this time in terms of like, well, I'm also using a different yarn, but I am using US 2 size needles, which is 2.75 millimeter needles for this. Yes, it is a small needle size. Last time though, I used a US 1.5. US 2 is the recommended needle size. Last time I made this, I think my gauge was kind of big, or like I was more of a loose knitter back then, and so I did have to size down. Although I like the result. Whatever happened with my gauge, I don't know. I don't know if I ended up on gauge when I sized down last time, or feels smaller, or feels bigger, but I liked the outcome. But this time I didn't want to knit on US 1.5 because they felt so small. So I went with recommended needle size. And if by chance that means my sweater is a little bit larger than my first one, I'm also totally fine with that. So yeah, I think I'm on gauge, but I also didn't like really check, but it looks fine right now. Like it doesn't look crazy small or crazy big right now to me, so I feel like then that feels like it should be okay. I think last time I do have a stitch marker in here in the back, and so I wonder if that's where I was last time. I definitely didn't reach, splitting for sleeves last time. Like you didn't see, this is the first time you're seeing it look kind of more like a sweater and not super scrunched up on the needles. So that's really nice. The yarn I'm using for this is Explore Knits and Fibers Earthy Sock. I think this is the first time I'm using the Earthy Sock base from Explore Knits, which is their non-superwash fingering weight yarn. And this colorway is Bainbridge Island. And if you don't know, Bainbridge Island is an island near Seattle. You can take a ferry from Seattle to Bainbridge Island, and it is where the La Mercerie yarn store is located. And I also just love the colorway too. It is hard to capture on camera, but it's like pale, it's very pastel colors of pink and yellow, like a golden yellow and gray, I would say. It's just so cute, and I love how it's looking in the stitch pattern. This is a half fisherman's rib stitch pattern, so it does mean that when you count your rows, you're working 2 rows to knit what looks like only one row, and so that is what kind of makes people a little scared about this sweater, is because it takes a really long time, it's a lot of knitting, and it's small needle size, and so that's, even more stitches, more knitting. So, but I love my first Birch pullover, and so I'm really excited to be working on my second one. Both of them I am using a non-superwash yarn, and so I don't think, my first one grew that much from blocking. I don't know how it would do in a superwash yarn, because I know superwash yarns tend to grow a little bit more after blocking versus non-superwash. That is kind of part of the reason why I opted to go with a non-superwash for this pattern, especially because since this knit does take a lot of time and effort to work on, it would be so sad if at the end the blocking is what just like makes it, not wearable for you. So I just felt like it'd be safer to use a non-superwash yarn. So that was kind of like my reason for that. But wow, I'm so excited. I don't know how much more I'm going to knit on this. I might knit on it a little bit, because again, it's like right now that I'm connected, and I'm working on just the body and the round, it's going to be, again, super nice for knitting at knit nights and stuff, because I don't have to think too hard. But I have a lot of other projects on my needles and ones I want to cast on before the end of the year to work on, and so I am okay. I mean, I don't think, even if this is all I worked on for the rest of the year, I think I could finish it before the end of the year if this was the only thing I worked on. I don't know, but I also don't want to do that. I want to knit other things, and so I will not be upset about, carrying this into the new year because it's such a great sweater. But I wanted to show it to you because right now I think it looks so cute. When you can, actually see it, you can see where the sleeves are and where the body is. I think it looks really cute. So yeah. I do need to wind up another skein of yarn, though, so that could be what stops me from continuing to work on it in the super near future, at least. Okay. Next up, I have my... Oh, this is one I'm hoping to finish. I can definitely finish this by the end of the year if I just remember to work on it. This is my Aviva Wrap Top by Jamie Creates, and it is looking so cute. This is using Woolberry Fiberco Berry Surrey in the colorway Flower Crown, and I'm holding the Surrey double, and this is one of the Woolberry Rewind colorways from last year, and so I'm really hoping to get this top done this year. It is a cropped wrap top, but the wrap isn't like something you do and then you tie. It is connected at the bottom, and so it's already wrapped for you basically. And it has a cute ribbing at the bottom for the waist. And there is a short sleeve option, but I am knitting the long sleeve option. And so I don't remember if last time we talked, did I have a finished first sleeve? Maybe not. I have a stitch marker here. So maybe I finished the first sleeve since the last time you've seen it. The sleeve does have decreases. You can kind of see it right here at the underarm part. There are decreases, and then there's rapid decreases right before the wrist so that you have this ribbed cuff, but then it kind of has still has that balloon sleeve look to it, and I really, really, really like that look. And so now I am just working on the second sleeve here. Because it is Surrey held double and it is a pretty big gauge, it knits up quite quickly, and so that has been super nice, and I just love Surrey sweaters. I keep forgetting how much I love Surrey sweaters, and then I start knitting one and I'm like, oh, I want more, I need more. I am knitting size extra small. Where are my notes on this? Oh my gosh, Sorry, it's right here. Okay, I'm knitting size extra small. I'm using US 7 needles or 4.5 millimeter needles to knit this, and so it is, a nice open gauge for Surrey held double. And it looks so cute. I'm really liking how this is looking. I really like just kind of that poofy look that the whole thing, that vibe that it has, and so I'm, again, really excited for this. I think that all I have left to do is the second sleeve, and then I think that there's an I-cord edging to go all the way around this neck edging here. So that should be interesting. But yeah, I'm really excited about this, and this should be done before the end of the year. I feel like now that it is in the middle of November, that this end of the year is getting really close, and I'm thinking about what I want to finish before the end of the year, what I want to wait to cast on until next year, and all of that. So, and all of my goals, I need to revisit those. But we've still got, we've got a number of weeks left until I need to think about that. Okay, next up I have my test knit of, for Tori U. I think last time I talked about this, I didn't have anything cast on, and this time I have a lot of it done. This is the Avenue vest by Tori U, and it is just a vest, mostly stockinette with just some ribbing for the edging. Let me just flatten it out a little bit, and then let me hold it up. Okay. It looks almost done because it is almost done. I am knitting size 1 and the V-neck version because there is a crew neck version as well, but I wanted to knit the V-neck version, and I am using US 8 needles or 5mm needles to knit this, and that is a recommended needle size, but I do have a note on that I will mention shortly. And then the yarn I am using is J'adore Fibers Naturally Soft Sock in the colorway Grapefruit, which is a fingering weight yarn that I'm holding double. And then I'm also holding it with one strand of Explorer Knits Surrey Alpaca Lace in the colorway Grapefruit. So both of the yarns from two different dyers, but they're both called Grapefruit, and they're very, very, very similar in color. Let me hold up the yarn. And I love this color so much. And so I'm really excited that I was able to find this yarn and stash to knit this, because I didn't want to, especially towards the end of the year, I didn't want to buy yarn just to do a test knit, but I really wanted to do this test knit. Okay, the note I wanted to mention about the needle size and my yarn choice here is that the pattern calls for a worsted weight, and so I think that in Tori's version, her V-neck version, she used a worsted weight yarn. And then in her crew neck version, she used a DK weight plus a Surrey. And so I felt like, 2 strands of fingering is usually around DK, although a little bit thicker. And then I'm holding it with a Surrey. So that should be around worsted weight. But I think that my fabric, to get gauge, I was a bit lazy. So what happened was, you start at the back, the top, and then you knit a little bit of the back this way. And let me just show you the back here. There are some shoulder shaping you can see here. But you start with the back, and I knit the back almost fully, and at least until I needed to start working on the front, but the top part of the back. And then I measured, and I was like, whoa, my gauge is way too big. It's too big. But I didn't have any needle sizes close enough smaller than my US 8. And so I actually do this quite often. I just change my tension when I knit, which is not the recommended thing to do. You really should just change your needle size. But I didn't want to pull out any needles, and I just wanted to start this right away. And so I am using the recommended needle size, but I am knitting with a tighter tension to reach gauge on this. And I think that my yarn combination is it's kind of thick. So the resulting fabric is a pretty dense fabric. And I am okay with it, but it does mean that my gauge is it is still a tad large, and by that I just mean my overall body circumference, now that I've knitted a lot of it, the circumference right now before blocking is 1 inch larger than the pattern states that it should be, but my row gauge it's a little smaller, and so I'm hoping that with blocking I can lengthen it a little bit, and that will hopefully shrink the width a little bit of this vest. And so I am very close, but when you check your gauge, I checked my gauge again, of course, of the back when I redid it the second time, and I was like, oh yeah, that's on gauge, so I'm good. But of course, once you start knitting a bit more, things kind of change a little bit. And so gauge swatches are always good, but you should always also look at your garment as a whole once you knit more of it. But when I check the measurement of the armhole depth and the V-neck depth, it also is pretty spot on. So we're just going to see how it ends up going at the end. But I am almost done with this. I think I want to do maybe an inch, or I want to knit this 2 pattern lengthwise. And so I think I need 1 more inch, or maybe a ½ inch more stockinette knitting in the round on the body, and then I'll work on the hem. And then it's done, because I did already do the ribbing on the neck and the armholes. My pickup rate for the armholes, I also had to, in the pattern there is not a rate specified, but I think that, I forget, there's a whole bunch of us, by the way, my Seattle friends, and also some Bay Area friends who are in this test knit, so we've all been like talking to each other because Tori, for Tori's test knit, she does not have like a group chat, but me and my friends have a chat for talking about this test knit, and I think, I forget who, but someone did ask Tori what the pickup rate should be, and I think she said it is for every stitch to pick up for, you know, the ribbing here. And I think I had to, it was close. It was, I think, something like, maybe like every 5. I think I did like pick up 5 and then skip 1 and then pick up 6 and then skip 1. It was like something like that. It was something I had to like trial and error and then also like count all the stitches around and figure out how to get the final stitch count, because she does say that there should be a final stitch count. And so I reached the final stitch count, and I just had to do some math to figure out how much to pick up. Same thing for the v-neck. I did have to do that. It is looking a little bit, I think it'll block out. You can see it kind of just looks like it's not laying flat, but it should block out. So I'm not too worried about that either. But yeah, overall, it's looking really cute. I think that this is going to actually be like the v-neck vest of my dreams. Like, I've been wanting a v-neck vest. I don't know if you all remember, but I made I think it's called the Best Vest by James & Watts. And I love the color, and I, for the most part, love the fit, except for the armholes are so ridiculously huge on that. And I even ended up, my gauge is smaller than the pattern. And so it is so large, and it's actually smaller than what the pattern says it's supposed to be. So I still wear that vest sometimes. I'll wear the vest, but just wear something over it so you can't see like the armhole just like all the way down here. Because the rest of it looks fine from the front if you don't raise up your arms. My friends think it's funny because I'm always like, oh, it's fine. Like my knitwear, if it doesn't quite fit, I'm like, it's fine, I'll still wear it. But I do think that this vest is going to be like the perfect one. I at least hope so, because I want a v-neck vest. And I don't want it to be too tight, because maybe you'll remember I knit the Lauder vest very recently. It's a ribbed vest. I actually posted finished object pictures with my friend Megan, because we both made it at the same time, on my Instagram, and that is a v-neck vest. But that fit, and I'll talk about it again in a future podcast episode because I need to wear it and show it to you all. But it is a tighter fit, and so as much as I love it and I love how it looks, it's just not what I'm picturing for the perfect v-neck vest. And I think this one has a potential for it. So that's kind of also why I'm like really rushing to knit this, because I'm just so curious to see how this will fit. It is very cute. It's just very cute, and I'm very excited about it. So I can definitely see myself making this again already, even though I'm not done with this one. Also making the crew neck version of this, because that is also very cute. Okay, I think I said all the yarn and size details on this. This is not the last time you'll see it, because I'm not done with it, but I just had a lot to say about it, because this is also the first time that I'm really talking about it and that you're seeing it. And yeah, I had a lot of thoughts, and honestly, some worries about it, and that's also why. Usually when I'm worried about a knit project, I kind of just knit on it a whole bunch, because I'm like, I gotta know how it ends up, and I need it to be done, like, right away. So, who knows? This could be done next week, possibly. Okay, and then I guess you can count that as like a new cast-on, because you didn't see it last time. So now we're in new cast-on territory, because I have a couple more new cast-ons. Okay, this one, I am pretty sure that I didn't talk about this one last time. I wanted, because I knew that our knit weekend was happening, I have multiple projects, but not all of them were ones that I felt like were really, I had my birch I knew I was going to bring, because I knew that was a nice, like I mentioned, like a good project to work on while you're talking with friends. But I wanted another project, not because I thought I was going to finish the birch during the weekend, but I just like having options. And so, as I've mentioned, I think 100 times already, one of my goals is to use up my Woolberry Rewind yarn this year, and I still have some skeins. I had one skein of the colorway Flower Farm, and I was like, what am I going to knit with that? I could knit a tank top, hopefully with one skein. And I've been wanting to make the City by Tori Yu. It is a tank top, but also a dress. So the pattern has both, but I wanted to knit the tank top. And I looked at the yardage, and it looked like I should be able to knit it with one skein of yarn. And I thought it would also look really cute in this Flower Farm colorway. And I wanted to get to the point where by knit weekend, all I had to do was work on the body in the round, because it is mostly stockinette with some rib details on the side. But let me hold it up to show you. And so this is 2 weeks worth of work, pretty much. So during the first week, before knit weekend, this is work top down. And so I did the straps. Ooh, it's so dark that it's kind of hard to see. I worked the straps, which is in twisted rib. And then I worked the front and the back, because that is worked flat, and it includes, the armhole shaping. I'm trying to hold this up in a way you can see, maybe. Just armhole shaping, right? In the front and the back. And then once I joined under the arms, and so that all I had to do was work in the round. Once I did that, I just waited so that I would have maximum amount of body to work on for knit weekend. And so really, during the entire knit weekend, I knit I worked on this a little bit this morning, so maybe up to here. But I worked majority of this body. I measured it this morning. I worked 8.5 inches of body during our knit weekend, and so it was honestly such a great project, because it's so little, it's small, and so it fit easily in a bag. I'm only attached to one ball of yarn, and I would only need one ball of yarn, and so that was also really nice. And so overall, a great travel project, or great, knitting and talking with friends project. But I did want to show you, I already showed it to you, but it is mostly stockinette, except for the edging here on the sides of both sides of the body. It is a twisted rib here, kind of like this. It's a pretty wide panel. It's very cute, and it does kind of carry up, to the armhole edging here, and the straps, and also the top neck kind of ribbing up here. And so that's really nice. Okay, the instructions do say I am knitting size 1. And I'm using US 4 needles, 3.5 millimeter needles. I believe that is the recommended needle size. I usually, when I knit Tori Yu's patterns, the recommended needle size will usually work out for me. So, yes, a couple things. What was I just about? Oh, the body length. I am going to be lengthening it longer than what the pattern states, because I believe, at least for my size, it says 8.5 inches, which was somehow exactly where I stopped working on it. But I kind of I had more yarn left, and I was like, I kind of want to use more of it, and also I don't need it to be really cropped, especially if I have more yarn to use. So I am going to make it longer. I don't know how much longer, but I'll probably try it on and see how it looks. But yeah, I am planning on making this longer so that it is less cropped, but it's looking really cute. I love it in this dark color. I just think it's going to be super nice, and even though it's a tank top and it's winter right now, or at least getting colder. Is it winter? I think it is winter. No. Is it still fall technically? It's cold, and so it's too cold for tank tops, but this would be a great layering piece to wear cardigans over, and even a sweater over, it will just be super, super nice to have a more fitted top. If I want to wear all knits, right, a fitted top with a cardigan over, super cute and super warm. So yeah, I'm very excited about this top, and also if it works out really nice and I really like it, then it's a great tank top project for me to use for my single skeins that I have. I actually think, if I remember correctly, that size 2 says 400 yards of fingering weight, which is most fingering, or a lot of fingering weight yarn, or like hand-dyed fingering weight yarn, is 400 yards. So you could also knit size 2 with one skein of yarn. I am knitting size 1, so it does have a little less. I don't know if it's like 360 yards or 380. So I was already anticipating having some left over, and with the hope that I could lengthen the top a little bit. So it's all kind of working out really nicely right now. Yeah, so right now this is how much yarn I have left, and so I can lengthen more. And I just need to make sure I remember that I have to do some ribbing rows at the bottom. But it's looking really good and really promising to finish very soon. And then I'll have another top that is done to count towards my Woolberry Rewind goal. And it's looking pretty good to me. Okay, next up I have another new cast-on, and this was cast on during knit weekend with my friends. So we all wanted to cast on a boucle, not all of us, sorry, just some of us, but we wanted to cast on a boucle knit. Some of us did do a boucle knit, if you remember the superlative sweater. The plan was for us to all knit superlative sweaters, but I think only me and Megan finished our superlative sweaters. Our friend Katie made the superlative, and the sizing didn't quite work out. It didn't, I think I talked about it before. The superlative just doesn't have any like shoulder shaping, and so I think it just kind of like fits a little not as comfortable as I think it could. And so Katie is going to reuse the yarn that she knit with that to knit this other top. And then Sylvan, when we did the superlative sweater, did not want to knit the superlative, and so she knit this pattern, and she said she really liked it. So when we were thinking about patterns for this next boucle knit, we just decided to do what Sylvan did, because she liked it and it worked out for her with boucle. Because this pattern is not made for boucle, we're just knitting it with boucle. Okay, so this is the, oh my gosh, do I have the name of this? Northwoods V-neck sweater by Jessie May. And me, Megan, and Emily cast this on during the weekend. And I think Katie will be joining, but I don't think she cast on during that weekend. Let me hold this up. Yay, okay, so this is a V-neck, as you can see. And what do I have to say? Okay, I'm making it sound like it's bad, but it's not. I'm just like trying to gather my thoughts about this. I actually cast this on and then knit a whole bunch, and I used a recommended needle size. Cast this on, knit a whole bunch, and then I measured and I was like, whoa, my gauge is way too big. It's too big. And for boucle, if you're like, how the heck did you count your gauge? Because it's really almost impossible to count stitches or see your stitches on this. I just measured, so I think you start with the back. Sorry, I don't know why I'm holding it that way. Okay, with the back. You start with the back. And all I did was I knew how many stitches were cast on and knit for the width, right, of the sweater, and then I just measured the entire width of this back panel, and it was way larger than it needed to be for the size I was knitting. And I'm already worried I'm not going to have enough yarn for this, because I only have 3 skeins of boucle for this. If I do run out of yarn, I'll just make it a more cropped sweater. I think that'll be fine. But then I was like, it's too big. So I did actually have to rip it out. This is like the same thing that happened with my Avenue vest. It's kind of funny. It is my way of doing a swatch. I just do the back, the top back, apparently. But I ripped it out. And then I cast on again. I actually cast on with a needle size smaller than recommended. And then I measured a little bit again, and I was like, I think it's going to be too big. And then Megan reminded me that, like, I have knit another boucle sweater, and I can look at the needle size I used for that and the gauge on that sweater. And I think the stitch count is actually the same stitch count. And so I looked back at what needle size I used for my superlative sweater, and it was a US 4 needle, which is 3.5 millimeter needles. So, okay, so if this is US 4, that must mean that first time I cast on with US 6, I ripped it out. Then I cast on again with US 5, but before I really knit too much, I ripped it out again, and then I cast it back on a US 4. And it was good because I actually had US 4 needles with me that I took with me on our little trip. So I was able to cast on again. And then I did the 2 fronts. Did I do the 2 fronts during the weekend too? I don't know. But I worked on it a little bit later this week as well, or earlier this week. So I am joined under the arm now for a decent amount, and so I'm just working in the round right now, and I'm still on my first skein. I have this much left of my first skein, and so I think what I'm going to do, because I am a little worried about running out of yarn, once I finish the first skein, it will be good. I will have enough under my arm. I have enough right now, but to start working the sleeves, because the sleeves are something I want to be the full length of. So I will probably work both sleeves, see where I'm at, and then maybe they're supposed to be ribbing around the V-neck as well, and so I might do that too, just depending, again, how much yarn I have left over. But yeah, should be a good time. I actually enjoy knitting with the Boucle yarn. Like, it is I have to focus a little more. I have to slow down just slightly. What I have noticed, since I was talking about needle size, is that I think with Boucle, I knit very loose with Boucle, so that is why I have to size pretty dramatically down on my needle size, but I think part of that is because it is not fun to knit Boucle when it's really tightly wrapped around your needle, and so I think that's why my Boucle knitting is looser, is because I want a bit more room on my needle so that I can more easily work with the Boucle yarn. That's my theory. But speaking of the yarn, the colorway and the yarn specifically that I'm using is Explorer-Knits Boucle DK in the colorway Churros Con Chocolate. I'm so excited to be using this colorway. I got this colorway, I think, on a earthy DK base, or whatever the non-superwash base is called as well, because I love this color. I love it so much, and so I'm excited to be knitting with it, and I think it's going to look really cute in this sweater. I am hoping it's looking like, and it should be, a more oversized sweater. I think more oversized than my superlative, and I love how my Boucle knits feel and wear, and so I'm really looking forward to this finished object. And earlier, after we cast this on, it might have been like the day after we cast this on, Tori Yu came out with a test knit. She has a design for a Boucle cardigan, specifically a Boucle cardigan, and I was gonna sign up for the test knit again, or not again, but I'm already in a Tori Yu test knit, and so I was like, oh, do I do another one now too? And I was going to, but I don't have Boucle in that quantity in my stash. So I restrained myself from doing that test knit, but I will 100% be knitting that pattern when it comes out. I think that she's doing it in collaboration with Explorer-Knits, and so I think that they're going to have kits out for this, like yarn. You can buy yarn for it, specifically for this pattern, from Explorer-Knits, probably when the pattern comes out, and it might be in some of the New York colorways, which I didn't get any of because I think you needed to be in the in-person event in New York earlier this year. So I kind of happy about that, because then that'll give me an excuse to buy some of those colorways in Boucle and then knit my own Boucle cardigan. So I'm feeling okay with not being in that test knit, but I think I do have friends who applied for that test knit, and I'm so excited to see their versions of this cardigan and what they think about it. So yeah, very excited. I love Boucle. I love the finished object. And I feel okay about knitting it. I think some people really don't like knitting with this kind of yarn because it has a lot of loops, and so it kind of makes it a little hard to like insert your needle into and knit. And it does kind of like catch a lot, but I like it. I very much enjoy it, and I think that a little extra effort is worth it for the finished object, in my opinion. Okay, I think that is the last whip and the last new cast-on I had this week. Okay, let me quickly go through some spinning stuff because this video is getting a little long, but I hope you're all still enjoying it. Okay, I finished a spin, which is, again, I think I said I was close to finishing it last time. Although it is not, I did not wash it yet. I did not completely finish the yarn, but it is done being spun, and I just need to wash it and all of that. So here is the finished handspun, my most recent finished handspun. This is the Nest Fiber Club mixed BFL fiber in the colorway Tapestry. This is the one that I did a 2-ply fractal with, and it has very like fall colors, but also like I feel like kind of Halloween-ish because it has purple and green and some orange in there. I am hoping the camera will focus. I need to like cover my eyes, but this is again a mixed BFL, and so the fiber base itself, it looked like it had some gray parts in it, and so it is a bit more of a dark kind of like base color there, along with the colors that it was actually dyed on, or dyed with. But it came out really cute, and yeah, this is the finished yarn. Again, I haven't washed it yet, and so you'll probably see it again once I like actually finish it, but just look how cute that is. It is so cute. And then, wow, I like can't believe how good I was this time at splitting the fiber between the two halves that I applied together, because this was all I had for my leftover. I usually have like a larger skein of, leftover yarn once I'm done with the plying, but I really only had this much left over, which is great because that means that majority of the fiber went into this main skein. Okay, I've mentioned this before, but I am planning for this handspun skein, to be one of the prizes for the knit-along, the make-along that me and Bridget are hosting, and it's still going on. It still is still happening until it goes until the end of this year. So yeah, I'm thinking that this will be one of the prizes. So I hope you all like it, and whoever wins it, I hope you enjoy it as well. Speaking of which, I just want to mention again the Cozy Comforts make-along that me and Bridget are hosting. It is a make-along that is kind of centered around, the idea is you make a neck accessory. So that could be a shawl, a scarf, a cowl, anything that kind of like touches your neck. And there is a bit of focus on like using your handspun for it. You don't have to use your handspun to enter for this make-along, but it is highly encouraged if you do spin to use your handspun for it. And I have only finished one thing so far for the make-along. It is a cowl patterned by Bridget, and the brioche bias cowl. And I also use one of my handspun, and it is so comfortable. I love it. And I have plans for other things to cast on for the remainder of the year. I did spin some things to start a shawl for the make-along. I don't know if I'll finish knitting the shawl within the make-along time, but I've spun for it, which is really exciting. So anyway, potential prize for that. And yeah, I'll keep talking about it for the rest of the year, but we do have a Discord. If you want to join the Discord, message me or message Bridget. either comment, on the YouTube, or if you don't want it to be public, you can message me on Instagram. I will try. Sometimes, I don't know why my messages will sometimes go to, like, the message request thing, and I just, like, don't look at it too often, so hopefully I will catch it if you do message me. But you can also message Bridget to get added to the Discord. It's been really chill, and we just kind of, like, post progress pictures. I haven't posted my finished object yet, although I finally took finished object pictures of my cowl during knit weekend. I took a lot of finished object pictures last weekend, so I'm hoping to get those up soon. But yeah, I just wanted to show you this finished spin. And now that I'm done with a spin, and I also planned this again, I wanted my bobbin to be empty for knit weekend last weekend, because I finally got this fiber in the mail. Let me show you this bag of cute fiber. I've already split it and stuff, and so these are just in the little balls that I made in how I'm going to spin it. But this is created by LCB, and it is Polworth and Mulberry silk fiber, and it is 85% 22 micron wool. That's what it says, and then 15% silk. The colorway is Vintage Christmas, and if you watch Emily Gently Chaotic Knits, her podcast, this might look familiar because she has the same colorway. So Emily and Maya they got fiber created by LCB in this Vintage Christmas colorway, and they're planning on, they already spun their yarn, but they got the fiber to spin yarn to make Christmas socks this year. And then me, Megan, and Katie all wanted to join in, and so when there was we just needed to wait for, this is the first time that I ordered fiber from created by LCB, and so I think she does it on, like, she has colorways that she will dye all the time. It's not like the colorways are, like, a limited time. So she offers this Vintage Christmas colorway, but I think, like, each month is a different fiber base, and then I think there's, like, an 8-week turnaround for them. And so we did actually purchase these. We purchased this fiber on the day that Emily and Maya, I was going to say cast-on, or, like, started their spin with this fiber. So it's been some time coming, and it finally arrived, thankfully, right before a knit weekend. And so I was able to bring the fiber with me because I shipped it all to my house, and then I brought it with knit weekend so that Katie and Megan could also start spinning if they wanted to, and at least for me to also give it to them, because we would also like to finish spinning this and cast on some socks this year for Christmas. So yeah, I got this and I started. Here's my bobbin right now. You can see all of the colors kind of, like, split up here. The way that I split this up, there are very, like, distinct color sections in the fiber, and so the way that I did it was, what is, like, the best way to explain this? I split it up into, okay, so you have the whole fiber braid, and pretend that it's like you shape it into a U shape, and the colors in each of those sections, like, lined up next to each other, were the same, and so I split it at the bottom of the U section so that I have two fiber strands that look the same color-wise and in the same color order. And then I split each of those lengthwise into 4. And so I have 8 pieces total, and I wound them up into little balls, and I kept the color order, and I'm going to spin those all end to end, right one after the other, onto one bobbin, and then I am going to do a chain ply, and the hope is that I'll get some kind of, like, solid stripe colors going when I knit this up. I've never done this before with, like, this real intent on having kind of, like, straight stripes for something, or at least maybe a gradient stripe. So we'll see. we'll see if it turns out that way, but I'm really excited because I think because there are plans to, knit this sock this year, that I will see pretty quickly, like, how the spin will actually knit up, which is kind of exciting. The other thing, though, is, like, because I'm doing a chain ply, so that will give me, like, a 3-ply yarn, I have to spin, and I am hoping for this spin to be a fingering weight yarn. I have to spin this very thin, and so, yeah, it's just, I have to concentrate a little bit more for this spin, but it's been very enjoyable, and, one thing I really like is that this fiber does have silk in it, and I've spun with other fiber that has silk in it, but this one, I feel like the silk is, like, actually integrated with the rest of the wool, and it's not just, like, you see a thick piece of, like, shiny silk fiber throughout the whole braid. It's like, I looked at it and I was like, where is the silk? Like, I don't see it. But it is slightly in there, so when you won't be able to see it, but this in the light, you can see, like, it is a little shiny. Like, there is silk in here for sure, but it's just not in, like, thick fiber strand of silk, which I really, really like, because then it just feels a bit more all cohesive and just, like, mixed together, which I like, and it's spinning super nice. I really like the spin of this, so yeah, it's been really, really enjoyable, and I'm really excited to have that started and to be spinning with friends, spinning the same thing. It's very cute, and I really like it, and I'm really happy. Okay, I do just have one acquisition. I guess that fiber was an acquisition, but I have a yarn acquisition just this week. This is my Woolberry collective skein that I got. This is in the colorway Leaf Peeping, and I got it on the Berry Cozy Sock base, and this is just a very, like, fall speckles yarn. It's very cute. I got this and I was like, I wish I got a sweater quantity maybe, because the speckles are so cute. It's so cute. But I know that I don't need a sweater quantity. But yeah, I kind of, if these colors come back, this could be potential for one, just because I think it's very cute. Okay, and then I think that is all in terms of, like, stuff to show you. Yay, I hope that was fun. Oh no, I have one more thing. I did also get my Nest Fiber Club. Okay, I don't know how to say the name of this colorway. But this looks very, like, reminiscent of the finished spin that I just did of Tapestry, because it does, you can see that there's, like, these gray sections in this, but that spin was mixed BFL, and this one is mixed Merino, and so it is a different fiber base, but it is the mixed, and so I think it's different colors, maybe different colors of the Merino. And this was the October colorway. I do not know how to pronounce this. I would have looked this up if I remembered that I needed to show this on the podcast, but I just right now saw it on the side and I remembered I needed to show it here. I think the camera focused on the name now, and I'll probably also have it listed in the notes if I remember to add that to the notes, but that is the colorway if you are wanting to look up this colorway and you like it. So yeah, there's that. It's not, I would say out of all the Nest colorways, it is not my favorite color story overall, but it is still something that I think I would enjoy knitting, especially if it kind of fits the season and kind of, like, the colors, and it looks very fall-ish. Yeah, okay. The camera needs to focus again, please. Okay, so now that is all that I have to actually show you. I wanted to talk really quickly about Knit Weekend. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier in the video, last weekend was our Knit Weekend with friends. We went to we stayed at an Airbnb for the weekend on Whidbey Island, and it is kind of near Seattle. I think maybe it was like a I don't know, a couple hour drive or something like that from Seattle. Megan came to pick me up, and so it was me and her in the car, and we both brought our ladybug wheels, and so they're all strapped in the back seat of her car, and it's just very cute whenever we do that, because we like actually strap them in with the seatbelt, and so it's like our little babies are in the back seat of the car. We had I had a great time. I think Megan also had a great time. So we both took off work on Friday, and she came to pick me up sometime in the morning, and then we went and bought some food for our whole weekend. We bought so much snacks and food. So we went to Target first, I believe, and bought some stuff, and then we went to Costco, I think, was next. Is that right? I think we went to Costco and bought some good food and some snacks. And then we took a lunch break at H Mart, which is an Asian market. And they also have like a food court area there, which I've never eaten at before. I think because usually when I go, I just go buy groceries and go home. But we decided to treat ourselves and have some food there, and so we had some bibimbap, and it was so good. It was so yummy. Then we bought snacks from H Mart, and then we headed to we actually took the ferry over to Whidbey Island and then drove up to the Airbnb from there, and then I think the rest of our friends actually just drove up and around, and so they didn't take the ferry. I think we're the only ones who took the ferry there, but we got to the house, and it was so cute. It was right on the water, and so you could see the water from inside the house, and like it was such a nice view. And we had a great time. The main goal of this knit weekend was to just relax and stay indoors and just knit, hang out, talk, watch movies, and we didn't want to go exploring too much. We really just wanted like dedicated time to just hang out with each other and to knit and or spin. And I think we accomplished that. There was a hot tub at the Airbnb because it was right on the water, like such a great view, like so amazing. So yeah, that was really fun. We had good snacks, ate good food. I wish the weekend was longer, but it was a good amount of time, for the weekend, because we were there from Friday and then we left on Sunday. And yeah, I just had a great time. It was a really nice, relaxing time, and I haven't been to some knit nights in some time too, and so I felt like I missed out on some updates and some, just like the conversation, and so I was able to catch up a little bit and watch some new movies. Not new, like new, but like new to me. We also watched some like just nostalgic. We basically watched like nostalgic movies and some of our favorites. So like I was like, let's watch Ice Princess because it's kind of ridiculous, looking back at it now, but like it is what I grew up watching and also what inspired me to want to ice skate. And so we watched that, and that was really fun. And also there are some things I was like, how the heck did the main character get a double jump? Just like, oh, I just need to tuck my arms in more, like that doesn't happen in real life. So I had unrealistic expectations for how quickly I could progress in ice skating, but anyway, it was just like a fun watch. We also watched a couple more things. I know we watched National Treasure on like the morning before we left. That's also a great one. And then, the movie that was new to me that everyone else was like, that is their nostalgic movie, is 10 Things I Hate About You. I've never seen it before, and I don't know why, but we watched it, and I enjoyed it. And I didn't know it took place like in Seattle, and also was like filmed in parts of Tacoma, which was like really cool. And so I was like, oh yeah, I need to like watch this movie. And then I was like, sometimes it takes me multiple takes of a movie to like really enjoy it. So I enjoyed it when I watched it the first time during that weekend, but then I did watch it again when I came back with my boyfriend. And then I was like, okay, yeah, I actually really like this movie, and I can see myself watching this like over and over again. So yes, I'm glad that I was able to learn about that movie and watch it last weekend. And I'm trying to think like what else. I don't know. I just had a great time. I love my friends. I love hanging out with them. I'm so glad we had like dedicated time and like lots of time for all of us to hang out at once, because knit nights, there's always kind of like little bunches of us who, like, you know, because not all of us can make it every single week. So it's really nice to see everyone just like all together. And then Maya was there too, and so yeah, that was also really nice, because Maya does live a little farther away from us, and so doesn't make it to knit night as often. So it was really nice to hang out with her, and I mean, like, everyone. Nice to hang out with everyone. Also, there were multiple people who like made baked goods for this weekend, and they all tasted so amazing. And also, I was like, part of me wants to also bake and make yummy things, but then I'm like, that is time that I could be knitting. And so that is why I don't do it. But wow, their stuff was so good. Okay, my voice is now kind of like running out, and so I think that's all I have to say about Knit Weekend. I mean, I just had a great time. We took a lot of finished object pictures. I mean, I got a lot of pictures taken of mine because I brought a lot of finished objects, but other people brought theirs too, and it was so fun to take pictures with such a nice background. And so you'll see me post more of those pictures in the near future, hopefully, as long as I remember to. And yeah, it was a great time, and I can't wait. I think this is like the second year. I don't know if we're going to do this every year, but this is the second year that we did a Knit Weekend away. Last year we went to Bellingham, and that is actually when I got my wheel. So now it's been like basically like a year of having my spinning wheel, my Ladybug, and so that, wow, yeah, that's really crazy. Okay, I think that's all I have to share with you all this week. That was a lot of things. I hope you enjoyed hearing about it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you were knitting on something, or crocheting something, or spinning something really fun while listening or watching this podcast. Let me know in the comments down below what you've been working on, because I love hearing ideas from you all. And yeah, I will see you all in next week's video. Bye!